Welcome to the Jodo, your Star Wars gaming podcast. I am not Evan Lewis. I'm Joe Lutovsky, and joining me is not Evan Lewis, but Leo Andrew.
Hello.
Evan's gone, and
we're sad.
Yeah, although it's kind of like we're gonna be throwing like a weird house party that we couldn't get away with Evan around. We're doing something a little bit different this time. We're just kind of doing a Q&A, an AMA, whatever you kids want to call it these days. We've scrounged up some questions from our beloved fans, and we're going to answer them. But before we get to that, I think there's a few things we need to talk about at the top of the show. See, we almost missed it without Evan. We're lost. We do have a brand spanking new patron that we want to give a shout out to.
Yippee!
Toby Rothenborg. Thank you, Toby. Your support is amazing. We love it. We love you. So big shout out to Toby. And Toby pushed us over our first patron goal or milestone or whatever they're called. Which means now if you are a patron, you can listen to us record these shows live. As you know, there's one of our patrons
what you're into.
Listening to us right now. If you really don't like listening to nicely edited shows and just want to listen to the...
If you want to listen to all the bullshit we cut out, like that, like me saying bullshit.
Yeah, so that's another thing our patrons get to do now. I think we can start looking through these questions now. Let's start with this one. I think this will be an easy one. This is from Podcastanu on Twitter. Have you guys tried the Rise of the Empire expansion for Rebellion?
One of us has.
Yes, and we made a review video of it. And I actually played that also over the weekend, and I lost. It's good. If you want to know what at least I think, go watch our review on YouTube. All right, one question out of the way. So far, so good. Let's just do the only other question that came to us from Twitter, which is from Carl Duty. Instead of another wave of ships, would X-Wing be better served by a card-only expansion that can add new pilots / fixes / upgrades to old ships?
I would like to see that myself. But I guess I think it would be cooler if they did it more as like a print-on-demand kind of thing. But I haven't really seen Fantasy Flight. They used to do a bunch of those, but I haven't really seen them do those in a while.
Last time I remember hearing that just was something that was like off the table as far as like their business model for X-Wing went. Like if they're not packaging it with a piece of plastic, it's not going to happen. I think it would be nice. I think maybe something like the Carillion campaign from Armada could work, maybe not just cards, but throw in some new tokens and other, like a campaign booklet or something. So I could see something like that happening, but that would be really nice. Because there are just a lot of pilots that I'd like to see in ships that, aren't going to have any updates in the foreseeable future as far as I can tell. Like I'd like to see Ahsoka in an A-Wing or Thane Kyrell in an X-Wing or Sienna Ree in a TIE Interceptor.
Horn flying a damn X-Wing.
I'm just thinking more like ships that came out before the new canon really took off, and now we know new characters in those ships, but those ships have kind of come and gone already as far as X-Wing is concerned.
Like Corn Horn in an X-Wing.
Yep.
But, yeah... It would be nice because, if that would give them an opportunity, like you said, to put some pilots in these ships, but, still have it be more appealing to buy for someone like, me or you or most other players out there who already have all the models of these older ships that they're ever going to need or want. And,
right. And I think that's like exactly what they did with the Carillion conflict, because they didn't add Sienna Ree, and I think Biggs got added as an X-Wing pilot. So it was just a nice way to slip in those characters without having to put them with a new like expansion for that ship.
Yeah. So our answer is yes, but it'll probably never happen, right?
Yeah,
I think.
at least not in that way. Yeah. Let's turn to our Discord where the most of these questions are happening, and our patrons are listening live. So yeah, a lot of fun stuff happens on our Discord. This one is one of many questions we're getting from the Beard 1808. Let's just start with the first one. Pick a Star Wars game. You can add a character /card /effect /whatever that is not already in the game. What is it and what does it do? I'm going to add the machine from Lupin Chewie to every game. I was thinking, like, what if you put that in Legion and you turn it on between each activation? And if he knocks over your troops, so it's just a map hazard, you can maybe sneak through if you place them right, but you won't know until you turn it on if your men are in danger.
When you play like Destiny or like the LCG, you have to put your hand in the thing instead. Your hand of cards in the slot instead of the little tokens.
Yeah, and if it knocks them out,
Chewie hits your card, you have to discard it,
or leave the tokens, and just when it knocks a token, you're obligated to discard a card at random.
That should be like a or even just that would be like a challenge. Like
yeah, no,
like
I want to
play
do that.
two Star Wars games at once. So you're like playing Imperial Assault, and you have Lupin Chewie off to the side. So you have to concentrate on Imperial Assault, but also be like tapping your little flipper every now and then to protect your tokens over on the Lupin Chewie game.
That sounds really tricky, but I kind of want to try that now. I think it might be better with Destiny. To have some sort of penalty, like your opponent gets to remove a die when one of your chips gets knocked out. And Destiny can be a 3-player game. Like I don't think there's a player limit on Destiny. Maybe more realistically, I just want Cad Bane in more games, but he's already in Destiny, and that was the only game I could see him being in. Maybe Imperial Assault, but
I wish that they could still just pull stuff from Legends still. I mean, like, if Hasbro can make a Jaina Solo action figure, why can't we get, like, Jaina Solo in Destiny or something?
And I guess that sort of would fit with the spirit of Destiny, where it's just all sorts of, like, what-if battles.
Uh-huh. I think Jaina could be a hybrid blue and red card.
Purple?
Yeah, because she was a Jedi, but she was also trained by Boba Fett to fight like a Mando.
All right, let's take a question from Necrosis, who wants to know, who's your top 5 Star Wars characters and why?
Number 1, Thrawn.
Do you want to go down your list and I'll go down mine, or should we each work our way?
Should we go, or should we start at 5 and work our way up? I don't know.
Okay, let's start at 5.
Now I got to stop and sort of compose my
it's
list.
Harder to work my way up. I'd like a lot of different characters for a lot of different reasons, but I think number 5 on my list is just the Crimson Corsair, only because he looks cool and I liked his little short story. Like, probably I like Obi-Wan Kenobi better, or Qui-Gon, but my favorite character list is almost just the list of people I'm allowing myself to buy action figures for, and so that puts Sidon Ethano on my list instead of, people like Obi-Wan, who I probably like more.
I'm going to say number 5 for me is Jaina Solo. She kind of went through this, like during the New Jedi Order stuff, she kind of went through this really annoying period where they were kind of all like, ooh, maybe she's kind of turning to the dark side a little bit, but that never happened. And then, like I said, then in the Legacy of the Force book, she gets trained by Boba Fett and kind of becomes a total badass and, ends up marrying the Emperor. So that's cool.
Was my number 4, I think I'd go with Cad Bane. Because, again, I'm going on that list of figures I allow myself to buy. And Cad Bane, he's basically, like, a Wild West like bad guy, and I am a sucker for westerns, and he's just too badass for his own good. He's too cool. Like every episode he's in the Clone Wars, he's just way too cool. He kills a lot of innocent people, which is like he kills a guy over his hat. He sees a guy wearing his hat that he lost a little while back, and he just goes up to him, "That's a nice hat," and he shoots him and takes his hat back.
Nice hat. Where did you get it? What are you looking at? It's a nice hat.
What a mean guy.
I know, but he's cool.
Number 4, Wes Jansen.
Because he has a nice shot.
Yes. No, he in the Rogue Squadron and Wraith Squadron books is he's hilarious. Probably one of the most entertaining characters in that series. Which is saying something, considering basically every character in those books is like just really well written. The whole series is hilarious, but like Wes Jansen is kind of a high point.
Okay, on to number 3. I'm gonna go with Ahsoka Tano. When she started out in the Clone Wars, I was kind of in the same boat as everyone else. I was like, huh? And then the Clone Wars got near the end. I'm like, okay, she's actually an enjoyable character. But then it wasn't until she showed back up in Rebels that she kind of really took that slot as one of my favorite characters. It's because I really like her new look. I really like that she walked away from the Jedi. She was like, you know what? You guys need to get your shit together. I'm going to leave. But she did it in a way, not like Anakin, who left the Jedi, in a little bit of a different way. People have their own ways of doing things, but I liked that she left the Jedi, but still was like a nice person and did her own thing. And I really like what she does in Rebels. I like her new look. I love that when she fights the Inquisitors in Rebels, she pulls the one of my favorite moments in The Phantom Menace is when Qui-Gon just takes a seat during their fight to like meditate. And she does that when she's fighting the Inquisitors. She's like, I'm too cool for this. I'm going to just sit and think about this for a second. I don't know. I really like Ahsoka.
I really liked Mara Jade. In fact, I had my wife convinced that if with both of our children, if either one of them had turned out to be a girl, that's what we were going to name our kid.
How would you explain to your kid that they were not canon?
Sorry, kid, you don't exist anymore.
You look at the family photos and she's fading away.
Like Back to the Future.
Yeah.
And for me, though, I don't think it's necessarily that she's really that great of a character. Like, honestly, there's not really a lot to her other than, like, she's Luke's, wife. But I think it's more the fact that she was introduced in the Thrawn novels, and that had such a huge impact. And I think that's why I like her so much as a character more than her as a character herself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My number 2, I'm going to have to go with C-110P, Chopper. And I distinctly remember when they had like an introduction video for Chopper when Rebels was like on the horizon. I remember thinking, that thing looks stupid. And then the show came out and I'm like, that guy is awesome. Chopper's the best character on that show. He's just amuses me and I think he's funny.
I love when he does shit like that episode where they have the Imperial droid on the ship and he just like opens up the airlock and just tosses the guy out.
But yeah, I love Chopper. He's become one of my favorite guys.
I'm going to say Wedge for number 2, but it's Legends Wedge. At least in in canon,
Wedge decides to back out of the Death Star battle.
yeah, I mean he doesn't do a lot. Like he was kind of lame when they introduced him on Rebels, and I still haven't made it through Aftermath despite my many attempts. So maybe he does something cool in the book that I just haven't got to yet.
Nope.
Okay, good to know. But yeah, no, in Legends, as Seth just pointed out in our Discord, he was a big ladies' man. Plus, at one point, he pretended to be an Ewok who piloted an X-Wing named Lieutenant Ketch, which is one of the greatest moments in all of Star Wars.
He actually went through cosmetic surgery to become that Ewok. Wedge, you don't need to go out that far. You just have to. He's like, no, I'm committed.
Just use the puppet.
ruse.
We got you. No.
And my number one has pretty much been since I've been a Star Wars fan, which has been since forever, is going to be Boba Fett. Only because of his legend stuff. I'm pretty sure Tales of the Bounty Hunters was the first Star Wars book I ever read. The Bounty Hunter Wars trilogy. Every comic that featured Boba Fett, the Legacy of the Force books, the ones by Karen Travis.
He was really cool in Legacy of the Force. Like I said,
those were really some of the only post-Return of the Jedi books I read in Legends, and I'm glad it was those that I stumbled on, because 3 books were like mostly about him.
Yeah. Like you said, the Karen Travis ones. The Troy Denning ones were still atrocities, but...
Yeah, so only because of his, and a lot of it is the comics. Just Boba Fett has been a great comic book character, but I've just always been a huge fan of him, because I'm like, he's cool, and then I want to read books about him, and I'm like, oh, he's actually cool beyond just looking cool.
Canon-wise, he's kind of lame, though. Like, in Clone Wars, he was kind of like this whiny kid and stuff, and then... He goes, and then in the Star Wars comic, he shows up to fight Luke, and Luke, like, as a half-assed trained farm boy, still manages to kick his ass.
It also annoyed me in the comics that he just straight up, like, murders a dude after asking him a question, because, like, maybe that's what he would do, but, like, after reading everything in Legends, it felt weird to me, like, because he always sort of had some kind of moral code. But I guess if Vader was paying him to kill anybody he talked to, then I guess it makes sense. Yeah, I'm just waiting for some sort of final word about his fate in canon, because currently some dude named Cobb Vanth is wearing what is super heavily implied to be Boba Fett's armor on Tatooine, trying to be like a sheriff and clean up some town or something, and I hate him. I hate him for wearing it. Because he just bought it from some Jawas, so I'm just super confused where that's going.
Well, the fact that, if he has Boba Fett's armor, that implies that he escaped, unless you think that, like, the Sarlacc, like, horked up the armor after he had digested Boba Fett's fleshy bits.
Right, I can't imagine anybody, like, spelunking into there to look for treasure. Yeah, I would agree that also the Clone Wars Boba is kind of whatever. The mission, the episode where they're on a train defending that box is kind of all right, because he is a good fighter, and I just wish we could have seen him working with Cad Bane in those episodes. But maybe it's for the best that we didn't. maybe
1313 would have made Boba Fett cool, but I doubt it.
Yeah, and there's always... I don't know, it seems like one of those cool, unpopular opinions to be like, I don't like Boba Fett. Well, that's... if you haven't, like, gone all balls out into Legends about Boba Fett, you shouldn't like Boba Fett. Right? He's just... It'd be kind of... I mean, I guess, like I was just saying, I do like Sidon Ethano, based pretty much on the fact that he looks cool, but...
That's pretty subjective right there.
Yep.
Let's see, we've already revealed my number one, and I think anybody who's ever listened to this show probably could have guessed that it was Thrawn for me, though. Because, yeah, he's basically Sherlock in space with a giant spaceship. And that's awesome.
Since he's your number one, what do you think is going to be his fate by the end of season 4, the last season of Rebels?
I don't know, but I'm almost afraid. I almost feel like they have to.
I feel like they got to send him to the unknown regions.
Yeah, I was gonna say he either has to die, or he gets, or else they just kind of pull like what they did in the Legends, and then the Emperor's just all like, go hang out on the edge of the galaxy for a while.
Yeah. Maybe he wins. Maybe. Well, probably not, because at this point the rebels are on Yavin, and
Well, he could still end up killing everybody except for Hera and Chopper. Those are the only 2 people we know survive into Rogue One.
Yeah. And I'm going to give an honorable mention on my favorite characters list to Zane Karek. I guess the only fully Legends character on my list from the Knights of the Old Republic series. I just really liked him. It's been so long since I've read it, but I always thought he was a fun character. Let's go to Facebook. Jeff Carriage says, have you heard the tragedy doth plagueis the wise? Yep. Another question. Which Star Wars game, this is from Dan Scantrini, which Star Wars game have you gotten the most consistent enjoyment out of?
Man. The Star Wars CCG. Boom, there it is.
I think I've got to say the OG Battlefront 2, because there's plenty. Imperial Assault's my favorite game currently, but I've had matches of that where it's like, which means my enjoyment hasn't been as consistent as it could be. But I don't ever remember not loving Battlefront 2, so I guess I'll pick that.
Or I guess I could say also TIE Fighter. I mean, I've played hours and hours and hours and hours of TIE Fighter as a kid.
Let's take another Facebook question. This one is from Eric Kyard. And we've got a question that maybe Pablo Hidalgo should be fielding, but he's not with us tonight. So he says,
Jeff Cared.
What did I say?
You said Eric.
Did I?
Yes, you did.
Okay, well, this is Jeff Caird. He says, so why did the rebels use snow speeders on Hoth when they had all those X-Wings available? He says X-Wings are already adapted to the cold, parentheses, vacuum, and have more powerful weapons. And he's got a point. We do see an X-Wing take down AT... What are they called? CT?
I think it was
Scarif?
AT-ACT.
Yeah.
All-terrain armored cargo transport.
Which we could maybe assume is weaker than AT-AT. But I've always assumed it was just because they wanted those X-Wings available to escort the transports and get the heck out of Dodge when they were ready. Because if they have their X-Wings shot down in the battle, there goes some more means of getting off the planet, which was kind of their number one priority. The speeders were just out there to slow them down while more people got out.
Yeah, exactly. They wanted the X-Wings available to escort the transports when the time came. And a second thing, you could probably assume that the snow speeders are likely a little bit more maneuverable, because the X-Wings aren't designed for atmospheric flight. I mean,
especially, yeah. I
don't know if that's necessarily true or ever been confirmed, but I'm sure someone could hand wave and, say that that's one of the reasons as well.
Back to our Discord. Let's go for another one from Necrosis. If you could play one tabletop game for the rest of your life, including expansions, etc., what would it be?
Only one?
That one game you found, Card the Game, where it's just every card game smushed into one.
Just all your random ass cards combined.
I guess I would just have to pick Imperial Assault, just because I've invested the most into that game as far as like money and my time painting and
And there's a
crafting
ton of
boxes
variety in the game and whatnot.
Yeah, there's a lot. I probably haven't even. I wonder even if I've played 50% of what's there, because I haven't done the Bespin campaign, and we're still not very far into the Jabba campaign, and there's all these skirmish maps I've never played. So I guess I'd pick Imperial Assault, even if it's gonna be done in like a couple years or something. Who knows?
I'd pick the Star Wars CCG. I could play that forever.
Wait, you should probably pick Imperial Assault too, so if we ever hang out, we can actually play a game together. It's like, oh, hey, you want to play Imperial Assault? And you're like, no, I didn't pick that as my one hypothetical game for the rest of my life.
I reach for one of the dice, and they scoot away from my hand as I reach for them.
The Beard 1808 asks, what is one twist you don't want to see in The Last Jedi? And what's one thing you really want to see in The Last Jedi?
I don't want to know who Rey's parents are. I don't care. Actually, I guess I wouldn't mind learning who her parents are. I don't want to learn that her parents are Luke, Leia, Han, or Obi-Wan's her grandpa or some stupid like that. However, it would be acceptable to learn that Chewie is her father.
I guess, yeah, I'm not really too concerned with that anymore. And I think Rian Johnson even said that's not really an interesting thing. Well, it's interesting, but it doesn't help the story at all. It's more important to figure out who is she? Why is she? What's her purpose? And the things that kind of drive her.
He basically said the same thing about Snoke here. The other day, he was kind of you're not going to find out the secret origin of Snoke. He's when you watch The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, you just had the Emperor. Nobody took time to explain to you how he became the Emperor because you didn't need to know.
Yeah, I hope there isn't any sort of twists or big reveals involving Snoke or Rey.
The only
fine to get more background info, but nothing that's meant to be surprising or something like that.
The only twist that I want to see in the movie is Billy D. Williams showing up.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, well, that's something you really want to see. So, I don't know if there's anything I really want to see. Maybe Boba Fett just chilling in half a scene in the background, just so we can be oh, okay.
He's disintegrating somebody in the background in some city they're in.
Necrosis says, this isn't a question, this is more of a demand. Rate all the Star Wars movies between 1 and 5 on the Troy Denning scale. I'm not sure what the Troy Denning scale is. I would assume 1 is Troy Denning and 5 is...
No, it's how many Troy Dennings do you rate it? If it's really terrible, you'd give it 5 Troy Dennings.
Oh.
So it's the opposite of 1 through 5 stars, where 5 stars is the best. Here, 5 Troy Dennings is the worst.
I see.
I think even the worst one, The Phantom Menace. I know lots of people say Attack of the Clones is the worst, but I still think Phantom Menace is the worst.
I agree. I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah, but I would say even the worst one there, even that one still only gets 3 Troy Dennings.
Let's go to a question that just came in due to our patrons being actively involved with this. If Star Wars novels were limited to one author from now on, who would you choose? Kevin Ahern.
You hate everybody, don't you?
Well,
we will get some. We should get lots of interesting exclamations from our characters. Though.
That's such a terrible concept to limit Star Wars to one author. Might as well take it all the way and just be you know what? Fine, let's just forget about this. I guess if I had to be more serious, I'd probably just pick John Jackson Miller or Claudia Gray.
I would pick Brandon Sanderson because I think he can write kind of several different genres, and he can write fast. And even though he's writing fast, he can still write good.
What commanders, this is from Cody Man, which I assume is like a superhero who has the power of Cody. What commanders would get you most hyped to play Legion? What commander skills should they have? I don't think Boba Fett would ever be a commander. I see him as more of a special unit. So I'm trying to think what characters I'm super into that could also fit the role of commander. Can we have Admiral Raddus? So every time he's like, I say we fight. That's just how you approach everything.
But he doesn't really command ground troops. I mean, if they ever bring in
maybe
the Clone Wars era,
cool.
and if they ever bring in the Clone Wars era, I mean, you could get quite a few different Jedi as generals.
Oh, sure, yeah. Then, if we get Clone Wars era, just give me Plo Koon or give me Commander Cody or any of the clone commanders or... that gets blown wide open if we go to the
Give
Clone
me
Wars.
General Kree or Krell. Is that his name?
Yeah, Pong Krell.
Yeah. For the... And
His
his
ability
ability is
like...
to just flip out and fucking start chopping everybody to pieces.
Yeah, you can reveal a card if you choose that says all of... you have to bring in a third player to play as your clone troopers, and you are now opposed to everybody on the board. But you get extra powerful. I think Hera might be a cool leader. Or, like, Old Man Rex. That'd be kind of cool.
Captain Phasma.
I haven't started that novel yet. I really hope I like it.
The cover looks cool, at least.
The back cover is cool. I guess if you open it all up, it's kind of cool. Otherwise, it's just her helmet, which isn't that interesting. Let's take another question from the audience. Yes, you over there. Yep. Okay. He says, Troy Denning is now part of the Lucasfilm Story Group. What do you do? This is from The Beard.
I only read Legends.
Cody Mann says, pick a best Troy Denning book.
No such thing. No, actually, Star by Star was actually pretty good. It was also, if I remember right, that was the very first Star Wars book Troy Denning wrote, and it was also the best. But it also really pissed me off because it, built Anakin Solo into this giant badass, and then, spoiler alert, for anybody who hasn't read it, and then they fucking kill him off. So frustrating. But the book was actually pretty good, which, knowing me and my opinions of Troy Denning, for me to say that is saying quite a lot.
How about another one from The Beard? It says, you are now part of the Lucasfilm Story Group. What do you do? I think I would try and slip in the original characters from Imperial Assault into things, particularly comics, because those characters, just looking at the art, makes me think they belong in a comic book, and they all look like they have cool backstories. So I just want to try and slip those guys in somewhere.
I make Jodo cast canon again.
That too. What if we see like a Mando in the Han Solo movie and everyone's like, oh, it's Boba Fett, and the character's like, oh, it's Boba Fett, and he's like, no, guys, it's just Jodo cast. And they're like, oh.
That would actually be awesome. Like Han, totally kicks his ass and then is bragging about how, he defeated Boba Fett. And then everyone's all like, that wasn't Boba Fett.
Let's go back to Facebook. What's your favorite Star Wars video game, and why is it Battlefront 2?
He must be talking about Battlefront 2-1.
This is from Jake Peterson, and yeah, I guess I kind of already explained why Battlefront 2 is my favorite, because I just got the most consistent enjoyment out of that game for years and years.
I think I've said it before. I never really got into the Battlefront series. I just, I would play them, and then they were, kind of fun, but usually...
It might have also had to do with, I don't know how old we were when they came out, because I was a lot younger, so maybe
See, like
it was
I was
more
in
the
like
thing for me.
I was in like college when they came out, and I was also like super into playing like either Counter-Strike or Halo at the time. And so like I would play Battlefront and then I'd be kind of like, well, this is cool, but I really wish I was playing Counter-Strike instead.
Well, this is a good question. Another one from Jeff Caird. He says, what Star Wars game do I play if I have just 30 minutes for a game? Or 60 minutes, 92 hours, 3 hours. So 30 minutes for a game.
Destiny.
Destiny or a video game like Battlefront or something. 60 minutes? Maybe X-Wing or Destiny? 60 minutes tough because like a game of X-Wing or Imperial Assault Skirmish, that kind of pushes the border. Like tournament rounds are about 65 minutes or something.
Yeah.
So if you only had 60 minutes, then you're going to set up and you're probably not going to get a full game in. So maybe still just Destiny or the LCG.
Yeah.
Since there isn't a whole lot of setup.
Yeah, you could play a couple rounds of LCG, one with dark side, one with light side in 60 minutes. You could play a game or two of the Star Wars CCG in that time.
Yeah, or Battlefront.
Yeah.
Any video. I feel like any video game fits all of these things. So 2 hours, I feel like you can bust out X-Wing or Imperial Assault or Armada.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind
Or
of more
Legion.
that's kind of more cuz aren't our Armada rounds like 85 minutes or something like that in tournament?
I forget. They're like an hour and a half or something.
Yeah.
They're too long. But with 2 hours, I feel like you're going to have time left over if you just play one match of something. But that's time you're going to need to set up and then sit there with your opponent and talk about how much fun you just had. Like, oh, I should have done this, or I could have done that. Oh, that was so close.
I think you could probably play a game of Star Wars Risk in about 2 hours also.
The newest one?
Yeah. Or that might even only be like an hour.
That game you can play in under an hour. I think maybe 45 minutes is about average for that game. 3 hours? Now you're in Loop and Chewie territory.
I would imagine that's probably going to be more like Legion type.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how long rounds are going to take. Obviously because we haven't played the game yet, but I would guess that it's going to be somewhere in the 2 to 3 hour range myself.
Yeah, and I think that's still not enough time to play Rebellion, which in my experience usually hovers around 4 hours, including like setup time.
Mm-hmm.
Let's knock out the last question from... Oh, we got 2 questions left on Facebook. Let's do those. What miniature was your favorite to paint, assuming you paint them? From Brady Puckett.
I really enjoyed painting Jin, actually, from Imperial Assault. That one was a lot of fun to paint. I just liked painting all the little like details on the coat and stuff. I don't know. I'm weird, but I enjoyed that.
I really liked painting Santa Gideon that I did for a friend. That was just a lot of fun because I had to mold the green stuff on it. And I guess I had a lot of fun painting Boba, even though you had actually done most of the base colors. So it was just kind of like highlighting and doing the battle damage on Boba was kind of fun.
For X-Wing, see, of the ones I've painted, I think the most fun I had painting was I actually fully modded up a Lambda class shuttle to be Jodo class ship, the Foxcatch. So I had to saw off a bunch of the top wings and the side wings and add some extra guns and some extra engines and stuff to it. And that was just a fun project to do.
That turned out looking really cool.
Yeah, I really like it. I mean, it's not like I look at some of the paint jobs, some of these guys and like the custom X-Wing groups that I'm a part of on Facebook. Like, they're just amazing, and I can't do that good, but I'm still really happy with how my Foxcatch turned out.
Eric Dietz or Dietz, one of the above, says, how much overlap is there between Imperial Assault and Legion? I don't know much about Legion. I would say not as much as you might think.
Yeah, like, I mean, especially when you consider the fact that movement and combat are totally different in the two. I mean, there's superficial overlap in the fact that you're moving, soldiers around on a board. At least from what I've seen so far, of Legion, it's real hard to say without having played it myself yet. But from what I've seen from the videos and what I've been reading, it seems like beyond that, the similarities kind of start to break down there.
Yeah, a lot of times it still feels like maybe people are going to stop playing Imperial Assault for Legion. But at the same time, it's like these are really different games that just happen to be
a similar scale.
Similar scale, yes. With, people running around shooting each other. But they do it in very different ways. And like we were saying, we expect you're going to probably need to set aside 2 hours to play Legion, and Imperial Assault, you can get a round of skirmishing in, 30 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on the game. Let's pull one out of the Patrons Lounge, which White Fox SG says, if there was a Legends series you could make canon, or mostly canon, what would it be? I want to say Bounty Hunter Wars, just so I can have confirmation that Boba Fett survived and did cool stuff afterwards. But that would also mean, like, Prince Shizor would be canon, which I'd rather he wasn't.
Well, like I said, I mean, he could still sort of be canon. I mean, we don't know that one of those Faline that they beheaded in Clone Wars wasn't named Shizor.
Yeah, but I mean, if the books were canon, then it's canon that he's
alive after
Palpatine's
that, yeah.
here, and yeah. I would say maybe one of the comic series about Boba Fett, or just the KOTOR series. The KOTOR comic series is just, that's not really kind of in conflict anyways with anything.
Like I said, though, I would really love to see the X-Wing and the Wraith Squadron books made canon. I mean, for the most part, almost everything that happens in those books still fits well. Not anymore, I think, with all the stuff for Aftermath. But I mean, who cares about Aftermath? That shit sucks, anyways. Let's make Aftermath not canon anymore, and let's make the X-Wing series canon. That sounds like a really fair trade to me.
Vader's March Kazoo asks, if you could pick the next standalone movie or show, what would it be? About a gonk droid. There's no dialogue. The main character doesn't. He just says gonk. But it's about his struggles being used for his energy. It could worn out at the end of the day.
It could be like those Star Wars Blips cartoons, only just all about gonk droids. Those Blips cartoons are pretty fantastic.
I love those things. Those are great. I don't want Boba Fett to get his own show or movie.
No.
I'd love to have him get his own comic or novel, but I don't think he'd be a good lead in like some sort of film thing.
Yeah. I feel kind of the same way about Boba Fett getting his own show or movie, kind of like the same way I feel about like the Punisher getting his own TV show now. I enjoyed the Punisher as like a foil for Daredevil in season 2 of that show. But the idea of him having an entire series just about this guy who's like just this murderer, psychopath dude just is, it's not something I'm really all that interested in watching. And I think and Boba Fett is kind of the same way. He works better as like,
he shows up, does a couple things, and then leaves.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, ooh. And it's not necessarily that you have to keep him in mystery. It's just that if you spend too much time with him, he's
mundane.
Gonna get, I don't know. He's too cool to like be talking all the time.
Could just be like a whole bunch of the movie is totally quiet. Like the first like half hour of Wall-E, you watch. There's like no dialogue.
You know what? That would be
all.
Cool if it's just. You see Boba like get a message on his computer and he like clicks like the accept button and then he just does all this stuff without talking. That would be actually really badass. I'm expecting the next cartoon to take place after Return of the Jedi, before The Force Awakens, and that's kind of what I want anyway, so hopefully that happens.
Yeah. I think that if I would actually love to see a Lando animated series that's like just all about like him and Lobot stealing shit all the time.
That would be cool.
Like the Lando comic, only without the ending that comic had.
The Beard 1808 asks, what would a mobile Star Wars game theoretically need for you to be really excited about it?
To be able to play it on my computer.
To not have some sort of crystals as currency?
I'll be honest, I've never really played a mobile game that has held my attention for very long. Even like I've got this stupid Dragon Ball Z game on my phone it's really terrible. I'm not excited about it at all. But I mean, I've been playing it for 8 months now straight, and I don't know. But I don't enjoy it, and I'm not excited about it. I would like a old school, like LucasArts style point and click adventure game. That would be a mobile game I would get excited about and play. There we go.
Ooh, yeah, that would be cool. This is from Sponge Dingus. If you were Star Wars characters, what is your alignment in the universe?
Well, I've got an Imperial tattoo on my arm, so guess I'd join the Empire.
I guess I'd probably be somewhere closer to the Rebellion. I don't like when people blow up entire planets. I like the Empire's costumes and design better, but I guess that's not why you join a fight.
As sort of like, kind of in the similar vein here, Vader's March Kazoo asked, what would we each be if we were an archetype or an alien species in the Star Wars universe?
I don't know if I'm can you answer that for yourself? Because that's just isn't that kind of weird? Like, you need to get the people who knew you to say that. I don't know. I kind of feel like I could be a Jedi, but I don't know. Are you allowed to say that? That just sounds kind of.
I feel like I would be like I'd be a slicer, but then I'd be like some totally lame species. Like I'd be like an Ortolan slicer.
I'd just be one of the Jedi who gets cut down by Anakin in the temple because he was just not good enough to go out and fight with the clones.
I feel like you'd be the Jedi who you're just sort of not even watching him come up, and then you turn around and you're like, oh hey Anakin, and then he slices you in half as you're greeting him. Which Star Wars food would you want to try? Does booze count as food?
The noodle that Luke scooted.
His it's just that one specific noodle.
That exact noodle. I want to taste the historic noodle that Luke scooted. The first time he ever moved anything with the Force. I want to eat that and have that be a part of me.
Does booze count as food? Because if that's the case, I want to try Wyron's Reserve, which is this Carillion whiskey that is supposed to be really amazing. And then there's also a Carillion Sunrise. That's another booze drink. Ruby Blales. That's another booze I would want to try. All my Star Wars ingestibles that I want to try are booze.
Maybe a Yogan fruit or a Meluran fruit, just to see what all the fuss is about. Between all of the casters, so you, me, and Evan, who would win in a fight? I'm assuming Evan has had... doesn't he? Yeah, Evan.
Evan's number one. Evan's in the Army National Guard. Evan's a veteran who served in Iraq. And Evan trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I joined wrestling in 6th grade, and then I quit. That's my fighting experience. Got
pretty good at twirling a lightsaber
I got
around,
kicked off the
cool.
bus in middle school for punching a kid in the face and making his nose bleed. There we go.
So it's kind of a toss-up.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could maybe win in a fight against Evan. Is there a director you want for episode 9? Now that Colin Trevorrow is out, who would you want?
Seems seems like the rumors are that they're already eyeballing JJ and Ryan Johnson, and it's weird that I feel like I'd pick Ryan over JJ because I haven't seen The Last Jedi, but I have seen Looper, which I enjoyed a lot.
That was
and Ryan
really
just
good,
seems like a fun guy, but.
You know, and when you read quotes from him, he doesn't seem like he's quite as full of bullshit as J.J. Abrams is.
Yeah, I mean, I really like looking at Ryan interact with fans on Twitter because there's always people coming at him like, "Oh, this is dumb. Why would you do this, this, and this?" And he's just like gives them like a answer that just is perfect. And I can't think of any good examples, but let's go look at his like Twitter replies. They're pretty great. Seems like the kind of guy you'd want to sit down and play a board game with. Maybe, and this is, I don't even remember his full name. It's Joe somebody, the guy who directed Tron Legacy.
Oh, yeah.
The only thing I know that he did was Tron Legacy and Oblivion with Tom Cruise, which was just kind of a
It was like, you know,
mediocre at best.
The thing about Oblivion is it was just like an okay movie, but the movie it looked beautiful as hell. Like,
I know.
Like just like everything about like the cinematography, and the design of like everything in that movie was fantastic.
I know. We went to that only because my wife Bethany, she lived in Iceland for like 6 weeks when we were in college for something, and I think while she was there was parts of Iceland that were closed off for filming that movie because she remembered the locals all being mad at Tom Cruise. And so she wanted to see it just to look at Iceland because, you know, every movie films in Iceland because it's so beautiful there. And so that's the only reason we went to see it. And then we were both like, you know what, that wasn't so bad. It was kind of like, it's not a great sci-fi movie. There's some kind of weird plot things, but it's a gorgeous movie, and I love the design of everything in it. So I love Tron Legacy. That's one of my favorite movies. And so it'd be cool to see obviously he's got some sci-fi background. Pick that guy. Whatever his name is. I should probably look that up. His name is Joseph Kosinski.
You know, it's not for episode 9, but I would honestly like to see Guillermo del Toro direct. Like
a Borgullet movie?
Like a horror film about Borgullet. No, just like one of the standalone films or something like that. I'd just like to see what kind of crazy he comes up with.
Necrosis asks, if you could design a Star Wars video game, how and what would it be? First off, it would be fun.
Yes.
I kind of like open world, maybe, but not. Because like Bounty Hunter was sort of open world. It kind of just felt like it in the fact that some areas had like civilians walking around that you could like light on fire. But I don't know, maybe like whatever the unannounced game or the untitled game coming out is, that kind of, I feel like it'd have to be sort of on the kind of the underbelly side of Star Wars, kind of like maybe 1313 was going to be like Bounty Hunter was
something with zero Jedi in it.
Yeah, something kind of like maybe you play a bounty hunter, or maybe you get to pick that you play as either a bounty hunter or a smuggler, and you get maybe like a light RPG, and it would be third person.
No, third person. That's
you
terrible.
play as Jodo Cast.
Actually, you know what? Okay, no, like third person in like a single player game or something like that doesn't bother me. Like a
right, like Mass Effect.
Yeah, like Mass Effect or like Infamous or Uncharted, something like that. In those games, it doesn't bother me. When you're playing first person in like an online shooter, I don't know why it didn't bother me in Mass Effect, because I mean that's basically is a shooter game too. But
I think I'd want to have co-op in it so that we could like play together and make videos. And I like co-op games. So, okay, you have like a little crew that you co-op with, and you guys have a spaceship, and you go do Star Wars stuff and shoot people.
Honestly,
that's the name of the game. It's you do Star Wars stuff and shoot people.
my dream one would be a new flight sim game, like modern graphics and everything. Actually, have you ever played not Free Space, but is it Freelancer? Is that the name of the game? Yes, Freelancer 2. Okay, I basically want Freelancer 2, but Star Wars. And actually, there is some Star Wars total conversions out there for Freelancer, but that's not the same. Who's your favorite? Sponge Dingus asked, "Who's your favorite minor character and why?"
I feel like almost all of the people I listed on my favorite characters count as minor characters, except for I feel like Boba could fall into both.
Cad Bane is not a minor character.
Okay, so
I mean,
maybe
a
someone
minor
like who barely
character
even
would maybe be like Meeber Gascon,
I guess the Crimson Corsair fits that.
See, yeah,
for sure.
yeah, he's a minor character.
I guess I pick him.
I
also pick the Bith who gets killed in Heir to the Jedi and says Chob's knob.
Favorite minor character. I think I'm gonna go with Trooper Davin Felth, Stormtrooper Davin Felth.
See the first one through the door on the Tantive 4?
No, he's the guy who says, "Look, sir, droids," in A New Hope. He had a story in what's it called? Tales from Mos Eisley.
Tales from
yeah. And it was kind of cool. Like, he kind of shows his development from being a stormtrooper to where he kind of realizes that the empire is pretty shitty and evil, and ends up killing his own commanding officer. There's also a bit where during training on Carida, he points out that AT-ATs are stupid because someone could just trip them really easy, and Colonel Veers is like, you're right, but fuck you, I'm gonna totally tank your career to hide that you found out this design flaw. Because I think AT-ATs are awesome. I was going to say, tell us a Snoke theory that doesn't suck. They don't exist.
Depends on what you mean by suck, because there are things that are like, there's kind of like two bad things in Star Wars for me. There's things that are just bad, and things that are bad, but I love them because they're stupid. Like Ewoks are like kind of in the latter where they're kind of dumb, but I love them because they're dumb. And Jar Jar is the one that's like, it's dumb because it's dumb. Even though it's slow. Jar Jar is actually slowly creeping his way into, like, I kind of like it because it's dumb. Because it's fun when people just can't, they take everything too seriously. And they're like, oh,
without Jar Jar, you never would have got George R. Binks.
Yeah. Like, I like the stupid stuff in Star Wars because they're dumb. And it's fun to, I don't know, they're fun for me. Except Starkiller Base. Starkiller Base is dumb. I just like the idea that Snoke is like
he's
6 inches tall.
He's got like small man syndrome, so
he's actually inside BB-8.
He rides around in BB-9E.
Yeah.
That's like his personal Pope mobile, his Snoke mobile. A theory that I just came up with on the spot because I haven't been paying attention to many theories and stuff and speculation is just he's from either outside of the galaxy or from the unknown regions. And he meets up with the people who are like, we met the Empire guys, and he's like, oh, I got you. I hope that it, like, if they ever explain who he is, it's just like, oh, he's just some dude who went for Jedi training with Luke, and then he was all like, this is dumb. You're dumb. I'm gonna start my own thing. Or well, no, because I think at some point they've mentioned that he's seen like the fall of the Republic. So he's just like some fallen Jedi or whatever, or
Yeah,
even just like maybe he like was only like a Padawan during the Clone Wars, and like and he survived Order 66, but it like totally fucked him up, you know.
He's like, that was awesome. I like the bad guys now. I feel like he.
But I don't
Like
want him to be like some already established character, you know, like, oh man,
No.
you know, like people are like, Ezra is Snoke. That's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard.
It's not gonna, and they can't like do a bombshell and then it pauses to let the audience react, because like you've kind of got to assume that maybe the people watching The Last Jedi have only seen The Force Awakens, so dropping a bombshell like that's not going to be effective on that audience.
And not only that, there's gonna be no meaningful impact on anything that happens in a TV show or a comic or a book or anything like that on anything that happens in the movies. Like I know that they say that everything is all one canon and stuff, but as soon as they decide that they want something to happen in one of the movies, though, that maybe contradicts some book or whatever, they're still going to go ahead and do it. I guarantee you.
Well, right? Yeah, that's already happened,
and then we're going to go back to having like, you know, levels of canon like we used to have,
or just crazy retcons. The Beard asks, what's your favorite addition to the new canon, and what are you glad is gone? And pick something less talked about to make it more interesting.
So we can't just... I think lots of people say that they're glad the Yuzong Fong are gone, so we can't say that. I think the thing I'm most glad is gone is probably Waru from The Crystal Star, which was a terrible book, and Waru was like this weird like blob covered in plates from another dimension, and I don't know, he could like heal people or whatever. Yeah, I don't know, it was just a really stupid book, and he was a stupid character, and I hated the whole thing. I'm not sad to have seen him gone.
I think one of my favorite additions to the new canon is the fact that the Imperial Palace is the old Jedi Temple. It's just kind of like another, like, screw you to the Jedi, I'm going to live here now. That is going to do it for the first ever, maybe last ever, maybe first in a, I don't know. We'll see what people think about this. But do we have a catchy title for this, or are we just calling it the Q&A?
The ask me anything. Ask us anything.
The question show. Jodo ask.
That's a terrible name.
Well, it's done. So thanks to everybody who gave us a bunch of questions on short notice.
Final question, Joe.
The last quest, the final. There's actually a great short story about Isaac Asimov.
That is
last question.
Yeah, the one where it's they want to know how to stop entropy. That's
That's if you've never read The Last Question or Final Question, I can't quite remember, by Isaac Asimov.
You could just go find it like as like a text
it's a short
file
story
out on the internet somewhere. Yeah, it'll take you like 5 minutes to read.
Yeah, you don't have to buy it. You just Google it. It's really good. Really good. Go read it. Well, the last question we got for the night is, how do we find you online? That's a bit over our heads. We're gonna have to.
We're gonna have to go copy the audio out of one of our past episodes of Evan.
You can.
See,
we didn't have notes this time. You can go to our website jodocast.com, which has all the links I'm about to say. You can find us on YouTube and Twitch. If you search for the Jodocast, you can find us on Twitter at the Jodocast. We're on Facebook, something the Jodocast. We're on Instagram. One of the big hot spots for us these days is our Discord server. You can find an invite link on our website, and that's where our patrons are currently listening to us live, where we're getting lots of feedback and lots of board game, book, comic, movie, whatever discussion happening there. You can listen to us on our website, on our RSS feed, on Google Play Music, on iTunes, on Stitcher, or if you're a patron, now you can listen to us live on Discord. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I'm sure Evan will yell at us when he comes back for missing something.
Well, and you can find us on Patreon, and patreon.com/the JodoCast is where you can go and look to see if it's right for you, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of a big commitment. It's a big I love you to support us on Patreon. Not everyone's ready to take that step.
But if you do, you can now listen to us recording the episodes live. Just like we did tonight. It was our very first time.
Yeah. And I think it went well. In addition to all the other rewards you can get depending on your pledge level. And if you're not into Patreon, just leave us a review somewhere. Or share us with a friend, because that's cool too. Getting our voices into more people's ears is one of our goals.
And even though the Q&A episode is done, if you have any questions for us, just hit us up at any one of the above locations, and we'll be happy to answer you.
Or you can email us show at jodocast.com.
Only do that if you want to be ignored, because we have so much spam at that email box. It's ridiculous.
And so much better ways to get in contact. I guarantee you, if you tweet at us or post on Discord, you'll probably hear back from us pretty quickly.